Free agency in the National Football League is right around the corner. So let's talk about which players the Steelers might go target here as we approach free agency. We're going to be going over every single one of the positional categories that the Steelers may be looking to add some pieces in free agency. We're going to go over the top names in each of those position groups on today's show. But before we get into that, if you believe in Steelers GM Omar Khan, the con artist, make sure you click that thumbs up icon to show some love to the Steelers GM. All right, so let's go over the potential team needs here. Now, obviously, it depends on what the Steelers do in terms of the guys they re-sign before free agency, all these different things, the guys they cut. But right now, the potential team needs quarterback, whether it's going to be a new starter or whether it's a backup. You got to sign a quarterback at some point during the offseason. Cornerback, I think that, no matter what happens, you're going to have to get a new cornerback at some point. Offensive tackle, center, wide receiver, inside linebacker, edge rusher, and safety. I'd say everything in the left column there is the stuff that you absolutely need to address. Everything in the right column is something that, you definitely just need to get supplemental stuff in free agency. So now let's start with the quarterbacks here, and I've got 5 names to consider for the Pittsburgh Steelers when it comes to free agency. So we can start with Russell Wilson, who is probably going to get cut from the Denver Broncos. And listen, if he wants to come to the Pittsburgh Steelers for like a really team-friendly deal on a 1-year contract to kind of prove that he can still be a really good starter in this league, then that's a possibility, all right? Especially if you can't get your hands on Justin Fields this offseason, say he gets traded to Atlanta or he stays in Chicago. Russell Wilson is a veteran option that if you want to go potentially try and win a Super Bowl, Russell Wilson has been there. He has done that. He is a Super Bowl champion, and he actually played a lot better than people give him credit for in 2023. So as long as the money works out, Russell Wilson can be an option for you. Also, Mason Rudolph, I think, is going to be paid like a really good backup quarterback. If you bring him in, it's probably going to be more of a competition between him and Kenny Pickett, with Pickett probably having the advantage going into camp. And then Jacoby Brissett, a name that I think they should really consider if Eric Bieniemy is named the next offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Absolutely lit it up when he got the opportunity this year to come in relief of Sam Howell. Was absolutely fantastic for Eric Bieniemy there in Washington. Gardner Minshew with the Colts. He's going to be a free agent. He's probably going to get paid similar to what Mason Rudolph is going to get paid, maybe a little bit more. So if you want to bring in competition for Pickett, he's an option. And then for a true backup option, I like Tyrod Taylor. 1 year, $4 million contract, had the lowest interception percentage and turnover-worthy play percentage of any quarterback in the National Football League this year. He's smart, he's savvy, he's a hard worker, and he'd be a great mentor to any young quarterback that the Steelers have in the building this season, and he'd be a great backup. So let me know down there in the comment section. You be the GM. So it looks like the Steelers will have to add some sort of quarterback, whether it be a starter, whether it be competition, or whether it be a true backup this offseason. So which QB are you in favor of the Steelers going out and getting in free agency or trading for? Personally, I'm on the Justin Fields train. He's less expensive than Kenny Pickett. He's way more dynamic than him. And I think that he's got the potential to potentially be a superstar quarterback in this league. So that's my vote. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, let me know down there in the comment section which QB you want to add to the Steelers roster. Then we get to the cornerbacks here, and we can take a look at the Steelers cornerback situation. Patrick Peterson, Joey Porter Jr. still under contract, but Pete, will they cut him? Will they move to safety? I really don't think he's going to be still an outside cornerback heading into this free agency period. So I definitely think this is a position that the Steelers really need to hone in on. And the top free agency targets for the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason, these are going to be the top 5 names that you're going to be looking at here. L'Jarius Sneed, somebody that's really, really good in one-on-one coverage, would be a great fit here in Pittsburgh. $17.5 million per season over 3 years. Not sure if the Steelers can afford that. They'd have to move some money around for sure, but he would be a great fit, and I'd love to see him in the black and gold. You got Chidobe Awuzie from the Cincinnati Bengals. good scheme fit. I think that he would be a decent addition as well for $10.5 million. Stephon Gilmore with the Cowboys had a really good season. Now, would he really pick the Steelers? I think it might depend on who the quarterback is going into the year, but I'd say he's probably a lesser option. Then Kenny Moore, the second, is a really, really good value there. 2 years, $6.75 million per season for somebody that can play outside and inside. Former Pro Bowler, just came off a really good season in 2023. I would love to see Kenny Moore get an opportunity here in Pittsburgh. And then Sean Murphy-Bunting, somebody that the Steelers have been interested in the past, very physical corner. He's projected to sign for a 1-year contract for $4 million. That could be an affordable option if you want to go that route. So now coming up here on Steelers Talk, I've got the offensive line targets. Going to be talking about offensive tackle and center to kind of round out this unit heading into 2024. But before I get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Factor Meals. And you can get started on your New Year's resolutions with today's sponsor, Factor. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery service takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores and the prep work and the cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered straight to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, Calorie Smart, vegan and veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your New Year's resolutions this year. What's even better is that Factor now offers loads of snack options like breakfast, smoothies, juices, snacks, and more to keep you going no matter what's on your schedule. They actually sent Coop and I some of their meals, some of their juices, some of their breakfast items, and it's absolutely delicious. Could not recommend Factor Meals enough. Head on over to factormeals.com/SteelersChat50 and use code SteelersChat50. It's right down there in the bottom right of your screen to get 50% off Factor Meals today. That's code SteelersChat50 at factormeals.com/SteelersChat50 to get 50% off today. So let's take a look at the Steelers' offensive line depth chart heading into the offseason here, where, of course, Dan Moore Jr., another disappointing season. Mason Cole definitely needs to get replaced. Now, you like Sayamalo, you like Daniels, and you like Broderick Jones to fill out one of those tackle spots, but I think you definitely need to add a starter at offensive tackle and at center heading into the offseason. So let's start at offensive tackle here, where Tyron Smith is going to be the number one tackle that hits the open market here. 1 year, $10 million is going to be his expected contract. That would be fine. You probably have to go draft a corner instead of getting a free agent corner if you went with that one. But then the guy that I think that I really want to be the next left or right tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers is Trent Brown, formerly with the New England Patriots. He was a top 10 graded offensive tackle in the league this year on the left side. He can play both sides of the formation, and I really like that value there. 2 years, $7.5 million per season. Jermaine Illuminor is another option. George Fant would be a decent option at right tackle. And then Josh Jones, who had a pretty decent season in his own right this year, 2 years, $7.5 million to get him in the black and gold. Then you get to the center's prospects here. And listen, there's some really good targets in free agency for the Steelers to go and replace Mason Cole in free agency. Now, there's some really good players in the draft that you could opt for as well, but Connor Williams, the number one graded center in the National Football League in 2023, he's a free agent. You can get him, according to Pro Football Focus, 1 year contract, $6 million per season. Andre James had a really good breakout season for the Raiders this year. You can get him for 3 years, $9 million per season. Probably not the best value there, in my opinion, but then Lloyd Cushenberry, Aaron Brewer, and Tyler Biadasz. All three of those guys have been good starters in this league for a long time, and I would love to see any one of these guys become the next Steelers starter at the center position heading into 2024. Then we get to the safety position here, and of course you got Minkah Fitzpatrick as your true free safety. He's locked and loaded. But then you got DeMonte Kazee and Keanu Neal might get cut, and then you got Elijah Riley and Miles Killebrew both hitting free agency. So this is definitely a position that you can look at. Even if Patrick Peterson gets moved over to safety, you could maybe re-sign Eric Rowe. Trenton Thompson will be back next year. This will be an interesting thing to watch for the Pittsburgh Steelers heading into this offseason. But if you want to go out and get a safety, say you don't want to re-sign Eric Rowe, and maybe you want to cut Patrick Peterson and you need another starting safety, Geno Stone would be a fantastic value. Had a bunch of interceptions this year. He's a ball hawk. 2 years, $6.5 million per season is what he's projected at right now. Jordan Fuller has played in a lot of Fangio-style systems in the past 2 years, a little bit less there with $4.63 million per season. Now, I think probably the number one guy on my list here, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, former Philadelphia Eagle, signs a one-year contract with Detroit this year, can play safety, can play in the box, can play as a slot cornerback. He's very versatile, guys, and you can get him for a one-year, $5.33 million contract. I think that'd be a great fit here in Pittsburgh. And another great fit, Jeremy Chinn, 1 year, $2.5 million per season, can play hybrid linebacker, can play true strong safety, can even play as a slot cornerback. So if you're looking for versatility there, I think C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Jeremy Chinn are your guys. Now we get to the wide receiver position here, and I think that, you got Deontay Johnson and George Pickens locked up. You really like those guys. All right? Then you get Allen Robinson and Calvin Austin III. You're probably cutting Robinson, and Calvin Austin's more of a gadget guy. So I think that if you can add another wide receiver, whether it be via free agency or the draft, it's going to be very beneficial for your football team. Number one target here is going to be Tyler Boyd, the Pittsburgh native, the former Pitt Panther. I think that's a really good value there for a really good wide receiver. 2 years, $8.75 million per season. Bring the guy back home as a true number 3 receiver, and I think that you have a really nice trio for whoever's quarterbacking this team next year. Some other options include Curtis Samuel, Kendrick Bourne, and hey, why not? Michael Thomas, who's going to be a free agent here in 2024. Then in the inside linebacker room, really like Cole Holcomb and Landon Roberts as your number 1 and your number 2 inside linebackers, but the Steelers like to rotate between 3 inside linebackers, so I would expect with Quan Alexander hitting the open market that they're going to bring in somebody else to fill that number 3 spot. Now, I don't think they want to spend too much money at this position, so although there's some better free agency targets out there, I do think they're going to try to go for the lower end of the spectrum here, but all these guys listed here, Cashman, Tranquil, Gay, Dodson, and Morrow, all of these guys, very, very solid starting type inside linebackers that are going to cost you less than like a Patrick Queen, who's expected to make close to $20 million per season with wherever he goes this offseason. This is definitely more the value pick here because you already have 2 starting inside linebackers, but really would be appreciative of a signing of any of these guys joining the black and gold. Now, that'll be it for all the players that we go over today, but let me know down there in the comments section, shout out your guy. What player do you want the Steelers to sign in free agency? If you could only pick one player that you really want the Steelers to sign this offseason, who is it? For me, it's Tyler Boyd. I want to bring the Pittsburgh native, the Pitt Panther, the hometown kid back to play for his favorite team growing up and try to win a Super Bowl here. I think that'd be absolutely fantastic and be one of the greatest stories in Pittsburgh sports for 2024. All right, so that'll be it for today's show, guys. If you want a shout-out on a future Steelers Talk video, you can give me a follow at Jack_Sperry. Today's shout-outs. Shout-out to The Real Said, Mike, Nino D, John, Max, Johnny Boy, Kwani, and guess what, guys? You could be next on Steelers Talk. All you have to do is go follow me at Jack_Sperry. And that'll be it for today's show. Thank you for bearing with me here. I know it was a lot of information in a short amount of time. Thank you guys so much for bearing with me here. Make sure you click that subscribe button for more Steelers free agency coverage throughout the 2024 offseason.